Yeah, please start.
Yeah. So, hi everybody. All India Rivers Forum is happy to host this important session. This is on one of the crucial steps in the process of granting environment clearance, especially for river valley and hydroelectric projects. And in Himanshu Thakur, we have the best person to discuss about this. In fact, Himanshu's organization, South Asian Network on Dams, Rivers, and People, has been systematically following the expert appraisal committee as well as forest advisory committee meetings for more than a quarter century. We all know that India has some good environmental laws and regulations and notifications. Unfortunately, its compliance leaves much to be desired. And in recent times, many of these laws are being diluted in the name of ease of doing business. In fact, the TSR Subramanian committee that was formed immediately after the NDA government came into power in 2014 for revising the basic environmental acts had said that almost 99% of projects submitted for environment clearance are ultimately approved. Yet, the committee was unhappy with the time taken for giving clearance. In fact, the basic thought process that's within the government, especially including MOF, is that the ministry is an arm that is supposed to give clearance to projects, not that it has to evaluate and give or reject clearance. They think almost everything has to be cleared. Himanshu Thakur is part of South Asian Network on Dams, Rivers, and People. He has been, as I said, he has been very active, especially with dams and rivers. He was one of the key persons who had tried to spread the World Commission on Dams report across India. And he is also part of UVA. I invite Himanshu Thakur to deliver his talk. And following Himanshu's talk, we'll have detailed discussion on this question and answer session or comments, and we'll have sufficient time for that also. And I also take this opportunity to welcome all who have joined, especially our team members have been active in organizing this. I invite each and everyone, and I invite Himanshu Thakur to make his speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Raviji. And thanks a lot for inviting me to this very important forum. Actually, there aren't too many forums on rivers in India. So I'm very happy to be invited here and speak. I'll try my best to present the basic facts in the blog we had published, which triggered this invitation. It is basically about 2021 environment forest clearance decisions on dams, hydro, and irrigation projects in India. So the environment clearance for the river valley projects, hydropower projects are being considered basically by the committee of Ministry of Environment Forest called Expert Appraisal Committee, specifically on the sector of hydropower projects and river valley projects, as most of you would know anyway. Some analysis that we have done also includes the Forest Advisory Committee's clearance on such projects, but that may not be that exhaustive. The Environment Clearance Committee, EAC, as Ravi said, has been actually working more like rubber stamping the clearances actually. uh, if you go through the minutes of the meetings, you will rarely, in fact, never almost see any critical issues being raised. Uh, there are some times when legal requirements are there, and because of that, some questions are raised, and that the projects gets delayed. But the rejection rate of the EAC overall is zero. It doesn't almost never rejects any projects. The Forest Advisory Committee is not so has some rejection rate, but again the dilution of the norms is happening both directly and indirectly. In fact, the present government thinks that in the name of ease of doing business, it's important to reduce the environment clearance requirements and forest clearance requirements and so on. And so this there is a direct way to direct attempt to dilute the process, and there is also indirect attempt to do that through various means, including the selection of the kind of people who get selected on the expert appraisal committee, the process through which it gets selected, and so on. I mean, to show the stark reality, in 2023, in fact, one of the Adani Industries consultants was appointed on the expert appraisal committee on the River Valley projects, uh, which did raise a furor in the media, and ultimately they had to remove him. But this is not the only instance where such a thing has happened. In the past, there has been hydro industry representatives in the EAC, including the chairman. And when Jairam Ramesh was the environment minister, and we had raised the issue of one of the chairman of the EAC being from the hydro industry, he actually did take prompt action and remove him very promptly. But this is a rare occurrence. There are many others such consultants have been there. This has not always been the case. For example, in 1990s, there has been people like Ashish Kothari, Shekhar Singh, and Bittu Sehgal. People who were critical of such projects were also on the expert appraisal committee of River Valley projects, and they not only raised issues, they also mobilized inputs from the movements, people working on ground on those issues. Uh, Such people are no longer ever getting appointed on the EAC. At the EAC, when we were there was a period of about a decade when we were very intensely active on the functioning of the EAC. We used to look at every project that comes before the EAC, and we used to critique every project's proposals and documents on that and what is the issue and so on. And there was a group of people, including Sandrap, Neeraj from Kalpvriksh, Sripad from Manthan, Lata from Tirupalli, and Chalkudi River Protection Committee, and Samir from International Rivers. So, there was a core group of people like this who used to actively involve. And if you look at the minutes of the EAC in that period, ending approximately in 2016-17, you will find many of the minutes mentioning, Sandrap's questions or submission, asking the project developer to respond to it, and so on. But after that, they've stopped recognizing. They've in fact said publicly that they will not give any importance to any input that comes from anyone on the proposals before the AC. So that's the situation now. Uh, as far as 2025 is concerned, uh, there were total of, I mean, our analysis has divides the projects into 4 regions in India. The total number of projects that came before the expert appraisal committee in 2025 were 72. Out of that, North Zone had 14, East and Northeast zones had 14, West Zone had the maximum projects. West Zone incidentally includes states like Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and Gujarat, which are the biggest dam building states in India. And those, not surprisingly, maximum number of proposals for such projects come from West India. Not only in this year, in 2025, but even earlier years, that is the situation most of the cases. So 35 were from West India, And very interestingly, from South India, the number of proposals have been coming, have reduced significantly in last few years. There are only 9 projects in 2025. Uh, Incidentally, the maximum number of projects that came before the EAC were one kind, that is pump storage projects. 42 of the 72 proposals before the EAC in 2025 came for pump storage projects. Uh, Including now EAC looks at the proposals, environment clearance proposals, broadly at 2 stages. One is the TOR stage or stage one, which is at which stage it looks at the projects and gives approval at the stage one, which is the terms of reference for the environment impact assessment. And once that approval is available, then the project developer can hire a consultant to do the EIA on the lines of the TORs given by the EAC. And the second stage of proposal is once the EIA is done, a public hearing has been held, then the draft EIA along with the public hearing minutes are supposed to come before the EAC for the final environment clearance. In addition, there are some projects which come for example, the change in validity of date for the project's clearances, and some for the change in amendment of the conditions of the clearance. There is another kind of clearance process that happens in the EAC, which is also clearance for the cumulative impact assessment and carrying capacity studies, which is legally required. But again, so that's another kind of clearance that is there. Uh, so this is broadly the kind of projects that come for the clearance. Uh, and I can go into the details of each zone, what kind of, which state, how many projects came of what kind and so on. But I'm not sure if it is interesting to people here, unless there is a specific interest in this thing. Among the 72 projects that came before the EAC, the one project which actually they returned was the one PSP project from Gujarat, Sukhi, a 500 megawatt PSP project, and they returned it because it was found to be in the eco-sensitive zone of a protected area. So they had to legally return it and ask for a first a clearance for that or reconsider the project and so on. Besides that, they have not returned any project or asked for any other such changes. Now, as far as the PSP projects are concerned, let me go into a little more detail. Pump storage projects are essentially projects which have two reservoirs, upper reservoir and lower reservoir. Pump storage projects are considered type of hydropower projects, but one key difference is that pump storage projects are essentially net consumer of electricity. So whatever electricity they generate during peak hours, they are supposed to operate during peak hours, they have to use about 20% more electricity to pump back the water back to the upper reservoir during off-peak hours, from lower reservoir to upper reservoir. So firstly, it essentially they are consumers of electricity. And there are two justifications broadly which are put forward for necessity of pump storage projects in India. Incidentally, the pump storage projects has been coming up before, there has been existing pump storage projects since many decades. But largely they are being pushed since 2019. And in fact, since 2019, the maximum number of projects that are coming before the ESC are pump storage projects. For example, in 2019, EAC cleared stage one, gave stage one clearance for a capacity of 12.12 gigawatts, 12,120 megawatts. In 2020, 16.4 gigawatts. In 2021, 20.26 megawatt, 26 gigawatts. In 22, 13.3 gigawatts, and so on. And as I told you, 42 of the 72 projects this year were for pump storage projects. Even in 2022, 37 of the 60, 2024, uh, 37 of the 66 projects that came before EAC were for pump storage projects. Now, this is the kind of clearances that are being given, seems shocking, considering that the Central Electricity Authority has given certain requirements for pump storage projects in India. So, for example, okay, I was talking about justification. There are two justifications that are put forward. One is that there is a shortfall in peak power requirement compared to the base load station situation, and that needs to be satisfied through operation of pump storage projects. And the second justification that is given is that the renewable, particularly solar and wind, are not available. The power from such projects are not available all round the year. There are solar power only in daytime or when the sunlight is available, and when wind power projects produce power only when wind is available. But because the power requirement is continuous, and so they said that again we need storage projects like pump storage projects for storing electricity which is available from solar and wind during certain hours when the demand is not there, and then make that available during the hours when the demand is there. So these two broad justification, peaking power and power from the renewable, storing power from the renewable energy, is basically given for pump storage projects. But the problem is, firstly, as far as the peaking power is concerned, there are many justifications. I mean, there are many ways to address the shortfall in peaking power. We can start from managing peak power demand. All peak power demand need not be sacrosanct, but there's no real attempt in that direction. As for example, in household electricity demand and so on. Similarly, the justification, and there can be other ways. For example, the existing hydro, a large part of existing hydro can be operated as peaking power stations, but that's also not happening when they could have happened. For example, the CEA has given number of anecdotal instances when this is not happening. Terry project, for example, many times a 1,000 megawatt Terry project can generate, for example, 1,000 megawatt of peak power or 600 megawatt of 24-hour power. And they tend to go for 250 megawatts of peak 24-hour power rather than 1,000 megawatt of peaking power. And this is similarly, for example, Sardar Sarovar project has a 1,200 megawatts of riverbed powerhouse, which is also reversible operated for as a peaking station, but it's not operating because the states are not agreeing to that. And there are similar other projects, existing pump storage projects which has been sanctioned as a pump storage projects, but they're not operating. And for example, one of the Tata projects in Bombay uh, has been constructed as a pump storage project, is never operated, basically because Tata says it's not economically viable to operate as a pump storage project. So there are a number of such ways to ensure this peaking capacity, and incidentally viability of the pump storage project is not there because peaking our electricity doesn't have higher rates, and that's one of the ways which one can address and manage the peak demand. So anyway, similarly, as far as the overall storage power requirement is concerned, there are other options for storage. uh, Again, they are not really addressed. For example, and even after considering all these, if you look at CEA's, Central Electricity Authority's projection of need in India for PSP projects, for example, the National Electricity Plan for which was came out in draft project came out in 2023, said that India needs 18.8 gigawatts of pump storage projects by 2022. Only 18.8. And by 2022, the EAC had already cleared 67,000 megawatts of pump storage projects in India. There's complete disconnection between what the CEA is saying is viable or required and what the EAC is giving clearances to. And even now, the same thing is going on. The CEA, of course, has been jacking up that demand. Subsequently, in 2025, CEA chairman said that we will need 50 gigawatts of pump storage project by 2032. And recently, I think just this current week, there was Chintan Sibir in Himachal Pradesh on the power sector, including the power minister was there. And they have now come out with saying that that 62 gigawatts of storage is required by total pump storage, electricity storage is required by 2029-30 and 161 by 2034-35. However, they said that the target for commissioning of PSP in India is 100 gigawatts by 2035-36. But even if you consider that, the fact that the construction period for PSP should not be very high, uh, and the cost should also not be high. But it more or less looks to me like a scam. The way the capacities are being proposed and cleared by the EAC and so on, it's because I mean, again, there are two kinds of PSP projects which are coming up before the EAC. One is what is called closed loop pump storage projects, and another is what is called open loop. In open loop project, the water requirement essentially comes from a lake or a river, basically from a river mostly. Whereas in case of a closed loop, the reservoirs are both outside, they are not on any river, but they are off river. But the water, again, water requirement will typically come from a river or some such canal or some such source. But this is essentially a difference between the two. So essentially, the closed loop projects will have potentially less environmental impacts because it is not on a water body like a river. Whereas the open loop project will have, which is essentially constructed on the river, and hence it will have much bigger environmental impacts on the river and surrounding areas. So this is broadly what I wanted to say. I can also, for example, go into the number of projects that came up before the EAC in this year. In 2025 was 72. In 2024 it was 66. In 2023 it was even higher at 83. But in 2021 and 22 it was lower at 49 and 41 respectively. Uh, and again, the North India has been the second highest number besides the West India. Northeast India and East India has been having, but it's a much larger area, but it's also had 14 projects in 2024, 25, uh, and 19 in 2024. But there, the very few pump storage projects come up for clearance in Northeast India and in East India. Most of the pump storage project North India, noticed a couple of examples. For example, uh, the kind of project that Italian is one of the projects that is been cleared. For example, in 2025, both forest clearance and environment clearance. It's a huge project, more than 3,000 megawatts, and in Dibang Valley in Arunachal Pradesh. And it was earlier, the project, the FSC in 2022 had rejected it and gave reasons why it was rejected. But without addressing any of those concerns and critiques that were presented before the World Forest Commission, Forest Advisory Committee, the Forest Advisory Committee this year has cleared it. And there are similar such problematic projects that for FSC has cleared this year, including Yatin Hole project. It came before it did not clear it, but it has been waiting. Sawalkot has been cleared. It's a 1800 plus megawatt project in Chenab River in JNK. Incidentally, J&K projects were very few of them were coming before the EAC before 2025. But in 2025, suddenly three or four projects came up. We know why it has come up. There was another project which was notably, which was given forest clearance in 2025, which is Sirkari Bhoel Rupsia Bagar project in Uttarakhand. This project was actually rejected clearance by the EAC, because of the kind of studies that were so bad, and Theo and others Ramnayan and others had submitted very useful submissions to the EAC, and based on that, the project was rejected EAC clearance. But it was not only given EAC clearance, but now it has been given forest clearance also. Another project is Morad Gunjal project on Narmada in Madhya Pradesh. Again, there is the local people have been totally against it, and they have been sending submissions, and both to the EAC and also for FSC, and also to the local administration and the state government. But in spite of that, the FSC only concession FSC has given is that instead of clearing both Morad and Gunjal, this time to begin with, they have given clearance only to Gunjal and saying we will look at Morad after the Gunjal is commissioned. Uh, so that's only the concession FSC has given. EAC, incidentally, let me just say, has 11 members, including the chairman. Chairman, incidentally, is from IIT Roorkee, which has been largely, IIT Roorkee is known for a very pro-dem stance in most situations. Then there is a member secretary of the EAC is from the Ministry of Environment. Then there is a representative from CEA, a representative from Central Water Commission, a representative from Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun, a representative from CIFRI. So these are all essentially government representatives. Then currently there is a member from NITK, strangely from Department of Electricity and Electronics, which has no electronics engineering, which has really no shouldn't be there actually. It should be more from. Then there is somebody from IIT Kanpur on Civil Engineering Department, uh, and in the name of independent people, one person is there called Karthik Chapre. He's from Narmada Samagra in Himachal, in Madhya Pradesh. And which was the Narmada Samagra was started by the former environment minister and BJP person in Madhya Pradesh. So this is broadly the constitution of EAC. The FSC again has similar constitution with two independent members. FSC members, the independent members still are sometimes independent, are ready to take independent position, but that's not the case any longer with the EAC. So maybe I can stop here, and then we can have question answer.
Thank you, Himanshu bhai. I think it would be good if you can throw a little more light on the process of the expert appraisal committee, especially how they are looking into specific projects. Uh, what all process are they following in appraising those projects, the documents, all those things? I think that would be good.
Okay, I'll just quickly say, okay, see, recently most of the meetings of EAC are happening online. So that's first thing. And secondly, out of 11 members, most of the time only 6 to 7 members are present. Rest of them are not present. Uh, the EAC, if you see, the minutes don't represent really what's happened in the meeting, because there are never any question answers in the meeting. There is only a meeting will document what the project is about, what the documents say, and then in the end there will be a paragraph or two about deliberations.
काय
Hello, yeah. So in the end, there will be a few, 2 or 3 paragraphs about the EAC deliberations on the project. And if you look through it again, it is just saying that okay, this project comes under the EIA notification of 2014, and it's this category project, and these are the basic features. And EAC looked at all those and decided to deliberated on it and approved it. And they, of course, now accepted, I mean, said that they are not going to accept any representation. They never mention any representation, even if when it is mentioned, sent to them in the minutes. To give you an example, when Adani's PSP project in Western Ghats were coming in Maharashtra was coming up before the EAC, my colleague Parinita Dandekar, who had visited the project site uh, earlier, wrote to them saying that this project is going to affect a community fisheries reserves, several of them, and the project documents don't even mention that. So one of the things EAC did after our submission was that they decided to send the a subcommittee of EAC to the field area, and they decided that in all Western Ghats project, the PSP projects, the approval will be considered only after the site visit has happened. But the problem is when the report of the site visit came, it still did not address the issues we had sent to them, nor any answer to that question that the project is going to destroy people's fisheries conservation area in that area. So this just reflects the way this thing. Similarly, recently last year, one of the hydropower project, a massive hydropower project, more than 1,000 megawatt project was cleared from Arunachal Pradesh, and the EAC done the EIA done by WAPCOS, which has been, WAPCOS has always been known to do a shoddy EIA, was sent to them a detailed critique. They didn't do anything about it, and not only that, a legal notice was sent by the local people there northeast, and nothing has. The project was still cleared by the EAC without addressing or even looking at those issues or mentioning those issues. So basically, what EAC is doing is that they are looking at the documents and whatever the ministry officials present to them or the EIA consultant present to them, and based on that they are considering the project, and there's no discussion, so we don't know what's going on there. And because they don't give any credence to the submissions, people are not feel like sending submission most of the time. What is the point? Because they are not going to even refer to it, either the issues or the submissions. So, and everything is a tick mark, box to be tick mark. For example, public hearing, even if everyone in the public hearing has, there are cases in the past where everyone in the public hearing has opposed the project, and still the ESC will not even mention that in the public hearing report will not mention. When we write to them, they don't include that, and they based on that such a public hearing, they will clear the project. Or similarly about critique. One stark example is, for example, none of the EIAs or the EAC meetings talk about climate change. And we have been asking them for more than a decade now that every project EIA must consider how the climate change is going to change the operation or viability of the project as a part one, and secondly, how the project is going to impact, I mean, increase the climate change. And in fact, thirdly, we have been always saying again for a long time that the project should also look at the disaster potential of the area and how the project is going to change the disaster potential of the area, including there again the climate change aspect. But again, none of these aspects are ever mentioned or looked at into. So they have very little time, to look at the document that are voluminous EIAs and public hearing processes and TORs. TORs are always are more or less always same terms of references are given. The climate change is again never part of the TORs actually. So it's very disappointing, and the fact is that it's all going downhill. The process is not improving. In between, there was some change when Jairam Ramesh and the UPA was in power, but since then, it's been going downhill again. So it's broadly very disappointing, but the fact is it's an avenue. I think the key thing for a river group like NAPM's River Group 2 is to remember that such an avenue is available. The EAC and FAC are looking at such projects. They are supposed to give clearances, which means they are supposed to also reject clearances. And there are opportunities to raise the issues. And we have been pushing that kind to push that, open that further. But we haven't succeeded too much. There are periods when we have succeeded, but not anymore. Yeah.
Himanshuji, Dhananjay is asking in the chat if you can elaborate a little bit on the pump storage projects, what exactly they are. Uh,
Okay, so I tried to explain earlier, but again, I'll just say so pump
yeah.
storage
Yeah,
project.
hello Himanshu. Thank you. I got the idea. Fair idea.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, for somebody else, it's okay. But for me, I got the clarity. Thank you.
Okay, then should I go into that, Santosh?
No, need not.
Okay,
He has got an idea. Even Someda has explained a little bit, so that's fine.
okay.
Then further, he has few points mentioned in the chat box.
Hmm.
And the question he has is for such projects, what developed countries have done in the past, as they also have dams and mighty evil projects. So a few examples from the developed countries is asking how they have cleared this kind of projects.
Okay, so one of the things is that, I mean, since we are looking at the EAC and FSC issues, one of the things that's important is that, uh, just a minute. Yeah. So one of the things that is important is that environment clearance has to be time limit. It can't be permanent. So in India, there is never a review of environment proposal, environment clearance. It's given permanently. That is not the case, for example, clearance given in, for example, in US. The projects has to come back to, for example, FERC, Federal Electricity Regulatory Commission, after certain years, I think mostly 30 years. And then they have to get both environment clearance at that stage and also technical clearance and so on, or fulfill additional environment requirements like environment flows or building of a fish pass or fish ladder, and number of such things, or disaster, improve the disaster potential, emergency action plan, and so on. That is not the case in India. The projects, and now one of the shocking things is that not only is not there, there is never an, one of the shocking developments happened in 2025 in this regard is the clearance given to Tista 3 hydropower project in Sikkim. That project got washed away in first week of October 2023 following a GLOF flood. And that project that EIA was faulty, the based on which the project was given clearance in the first place in 2006-7. When 2006-7 project came before clearance, the local people had expressly told that this project has a GLOF risk. And this project, the EIA does not even mention GLOF risk. And hence the project should not be cleared. The EAC did not listen to it. It went to the NGT. NGT did not listen to it. It went to even High Court. Even the High Court rejected it. And the project got washed away. The shocking thing is that in 2025, the same project with the same old EIA gets clearance, even though the project has undergone change and the new threat perception has come out, and the old threat perception has proved true. And in spite of that, so because essentially, we have a lot of respect for our judiciary, but our judiciary also has a very poor track record in looking at the river related issues, or the expert in the functioning of the environment forest clearance is happening in India. uh, we have been challenging that you show us one honest environment impact assessment of a hydropower project and dams in India. One. I haven't seen any in last 20 more than 27 years we have been monitoring these projects. I haven't seen one honest project report, EIA report. But look at the tragedy of that. Do we know any case where NGT or Supreme Court has looked at the quality of the EIA and has actually asked that this kind of quality of EIA cannot be considered for clearance? Or similar, so many other such issues related to the climate change being not there, the cumulative impact assessment being so poor, and so on. So yeah, so but this is broadly in other countries, the environment clearance and the other clearances are limited for certain period. Now I look at in India recently, Damway Lower project, one of the projects in Lohit Basin in Arunachal Pradesh, came up for extension of validity of environment clearance in 2026 January. Okay, and what it was told, it was told that according to the current regulations, the the environment clearance given to Damway is valid till 2037. So even if the project is not built till 2037, it doesn't even have to go to anybody for a clearance renewal. Now, this is the situation of environment clearance in India. The project was given clearance somehow in 2012, I think. In 2025, 26, EAC says that till 2037, its environment clearance is valid. And these are the rules the government has made. So, I mean, similarly is the case of the violations of the, how violated projects are also getting clearance or so on. Yeah. Anyway. I hope I have answered
For those who want,
answer, yeah. I don't know too much about
yeah,
other countries, but whatever I know, I've shared, yeah.
yeah, definitely, Himanshu. For those who want to know a little bit more about what exactly the EI reports look like for the PSPs and those kind of things, Rajesh has put in a report the shortcomings of a EI report. And through his organization, the campaign to defend nature and people, the objections they have raised. So people can download that and just go through that to get a fair idea.
Right. One of the projects which has been in controversy, there are few pump storage projects have been being opposed or in controversy. One of them is, of course, Sharavati project in Karnataka. There have been some Adani Western Ghats projects. In Shahabad project in Rajasthan, the rural, this Sainas website had written a fantastic report about, what are the problems with that pump storage project. There has been strong opposition from tribals to pump storage projects in Andhra Pradesh, and they have been come out on streets several times with massive rallies. So these are some of the projects which are in Bargi, for example. There was a proposal for pump storage projects which the local people have opposed because their water requirement is not fulfilled and government is allocating more water for such projects. So there are a number of places where pump storage projects are also getting opposed now.
Any more questions? Those who want to ask can unmute and directly ask also.
Santosh, prior to this, I have posted two more questions. Could you please read them out? Yeah, earlier, may I?
You can. You can directly.
Himanshu sir, actually, I have one, you can say, devil's advocacy. And through that point of view, I'm asking this question.
Right.
As I am also an integral part of this activism and the things which you all guys are doing. My question was, we are on the path of industrial development and then such projects to meet the requirement, energy requirement are obvious. Then what is the solution as larger population benefits of such projects, which is the very motto of the governments, of any governments? Then they might be thinking that marginal community has to sacrifice. And probably now Ladakh and probably the Nicobar also, they might be thinking the same way. Then what is the way forward when we are on the path of industrial development? in which you can say the natural habitats and you can say rivers, the forests are going to cut and going to be ruined. So that's what my question is.
Right. So actually, I mean, in whatever I presented here, or what we have been activism we have been doing, we are not saying no development or no projects. What we are saying is that if we are supposed to do an environment and which is also social impact assessment, we are supposed to look at the disaster impact assessment, which is in our own safety consideration. Then we should be doing it honestly. And we should be having a democratic and transparent public decision making process in which local people have a role to play because they are the best knowledge, they have the best knowledge about the local environment. And so there should be a key role for them. Now, this is also democratic requirement. So we are not saying no project. We are saying if we do an honest environment impact assessment, we have an honest appraisal where we have in the appraisal committee, we have independent people who can ask questions. The appraisal committee is given a task of saying that they can also reject projects, and we have truly people who have independent track record on such committees. The India will only benefit. The Tista 3 washing away is not one example, and there are many such examples where the projects have been destroyed or damaged and so on because of this wrong decision making process. And India has suffered in the process. The people of India has suffered in the process. The economic cost, India's economies also has suffered. So similarly, PSP project. One is not saying no PSP project. What we are saying is that let us look at the demand. Let us see what are the ways of addressing demand. Then let us look at what is justifiable capacity, and then let us look at honestly look at the impacts of and options for such requirements. So that's what we need to do. That's what World Commission on Dams did actually. The World Commission on Dams report, which came out in November 2000, we all worked for it actually for more than 3 years. And it was released by no less than Nelson Mandela. It was financed by no less than the World Bank. And the 7 of the 12 commissioners were all their life supporters of dams. They were not anti-dam people on the commission. And Indian government did its best to influence the decision of the World Commission on Dams. But once the report came out, the report did not say no dams should be built. Report did not say no dams are not developmental projects options. It only said that if the world has to take the right decision about the dams, then this is the framework for decision making which we must follow. And this is exactly what we are saying. Indian law requires EIA. Indian law requires EAC appraisal and the forest clearance appraisal. And then Indian law also requires the implementation of the environment management plan, the conditions of environment clearance, and whatever the EAC says, and the cumulative impact assessment said. Now, if we were to do all that, none of that is happening honestly. Prakash Javadekar, as an environment minister, said publicly कि मेरे पास क्लियरेंस लेने को आते हैं. मैं कहता हूँ क्लियरेंस तो दे देंगे लेकिन कंडीशंस लगेगी. तो प्रकाश जावड़ेकर हिमसेल्फ सेज कि वो कहते हैं कुछ भी कंडीशन लगा दो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. एंड देन प्रकाश जावड़ेकर हिमसेल्फ सेज क्योंकि उनको पता है कि कोई देखने वाला नहीं है. Now that's the situation. What is the use of conditional clearance when there is nobody to see whether those conditions are being followed? And the courts are not doing anything about it. This is a legal requirement. So what we are not saying that we should not go for development or such projects. What we are saying is that it's in the best interest of our economy and our people and our future to look at these things honestly and democratically.
Yeah, absolutely. Rajesh has raised his hand. Rajesh, please go ahead.
Yeah, Himanshu ji, see where the project proponent himself is commissioning the agency to prepare the EIA report. There is a basic flaw there.
Yes.
Should it not be that the Ministry of Environment and Forests creates a pool of independent experts, and then by draw of lots or some such random procedure, an independent expert is allotted to a particular project to prepare the EIA report. That is one. Two, we need much more trained and skilled manpower to appraise. These EACs now are a small number of people handling a large number of projects. Typically, and if you look at the minutes of an EAC, the sheer number of projects that they are appraising in one meeting, it's alarming. They cannot give any attention to details. So EAC itself needs many more skilled and trained people who are independent minded. So that kind of institutional reform is badly needed. Has this been suggested? Has there ever been any kind of response from the government on this? Because I remember when the EIA 2020 amendment had come up and they had asked for comments from the public, I had written all these and sent this in. I'm sure many other people must have done the same. But I don't know whether there was ever any kind of response to this on how to overhaul the process so as to make it independent and fair and consider the environmental angles properly and scientifically.
Yeah, so I mean, to answer your second question first, this has been raised for so many years. It's been known. And in fact, in my presentation, I said that there has to be independent people. And in 90s, there are examples of independent people who used to actually raise questions. Later on, that has stopped. And now the kind of, even the procedure they are following, they are not even accepting any submissions from anybody. So the deterioration, both officially and unofficially, it's happening. I give you another example of how they actually work. Kane Betwa project. Now we have been raising against this project for so long, detailed critique, and the project did not get clearance for 5 ESC meetings because every time we raised the issues and which they were not able to answer. Then what they did, then Uma Bharti actually, as a water resource minister, threatened the EAC that in the next meeting, if you don't clear it, I will sit dharna before the EAC, before the ministry. This is our own minister saying that to the EAC, Regulatory Commission meeting. Anyway, they didn't clear it, but they did a different thing. Ministry did very clever thing. They dissolved the EAC, reconstituted the EAC, and the chairman of the reconstituted EAC was, believe it or not, a former Director General of NWDA, National Water Development Agency, which is the project developer for the Ken Betwa and other river linking projects. So the Director General of the NWDA, the project proponent, becomes the chairman of the EAC, and in the very first meeting, without addressing any of the issues raised in the last 5 meetings, it clears the project. So anyway, so we have been raising this demand of independent people. We have been raising the, questioning the kind of people they have been, and a lot of people have been doing, kind of people who are appointed in the EAC. What is the process of appointing the EAC? That, there is never any independent people, at least in last 2.5 decades and so on. So that's very much there. What was your first question? Hello?
No, it was this,
About
that the
independent
project
EIA
proponent,
agencies.
the
Pardon?
project proponent himself should not be
right.
commissioned.
Yeah, that's right. Now, this is again a fundamental flaw in the process, absolutely. And this has been there, this has been known and this has been raised about. In fact, Jairam Ramesh, when he was environment minister, he tried to set up an independent environmental commission, National Environment Commission, whose task will be to not only get money from the project proponents and then select itself what the EIA, not through lot of lotteries but through actual process of selection of on merit, the EIA consultant, and the EIA consultant will be answerable to the NEC and not the project proponent, because if I am I am a consultant, EIA consultant, I will always try and please my project proponent who is paying me. And there is a clear pork barrel economy there, where if I want to remain business of doing EIA consultancies, I will need to have the EIA project proponent to be happy, and they will be happy if I give a clear report, and so I will give clear reports to them. That's what's going on, has been going on for so many years. So that is known and that has been raised so many times, and there has been some attempt, but Jairam did not succeed in clearing the NEC, I mean getting any clearance. In fact, we had raised some objections, some of us had raised objection, but basically not opposing the thing, but raising certain objection about the proposal he had. But I think there was a good proposal. Such proposal had come in the past also, but the government is clearly not going to appoint them. I mean, do any such thing. Yeah.
Himanshu, I'll just add to this. Uh, in fact, when the litigation on the Adirapalli project was going on, the government council actually said in the court that the KCB council actually, he said that we have appointed the EIA agency and he has to give a report as per our requirement.
Yes.
He had actually said that in the court.
Absolutely.
And also,
Yeah.
you had said that NGT and Supreme Court has not looked into the quality of EIA. In
Yes.
fact, if the court had delivered its order on the Adirapalli project, that could have been a landmark judgment because the EIA was thoroughly discussed in the court and its flaws had come up very well. Unfortunately, the then Chief Justice got retired without delivering the judgment, even though it was actually posted for orders. And then nobody else took it up, and later on, uh, the case was closed as the validity of EC had expired. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good example. It would have happened. It would have been fantastic. There have been some such cases where the NGT has been, there has been appeal to NGT to look at the quality of EIA, including the Tista projects and some of the Renuka project, for example, and number of other projects. And they are such shoddy pieces of work, WAPCO CIAs and so on, but they've never really taken up this thing. In fact, if you look at the tender notices these days, which invite invitations from the EIA consultants, the tender notice says what is the job of the EIA consultant, The job of the EIA consultant is not only to prepare EIA report, but to get clearance for the project. And for that, they have to apply. So, this is clearly contradiction between what the EIA is supposed to be and what the role of the EIA consultants is supposed to be. But that's how the tender notice is coming out these days.
Someda has mentioned few things in the messages. Someda, you'd like to comment something?
No, nothing, nothing very specific, because only thing is, as Himanshu is saying, all these issues have been raised for many, many years. This conflict of interest, the IA consultant getting paid by the project proponent, so it cannot, like Himanshu said, it cannot. It's a dog, do not bite the hand that feeds it. So these have been raised for many years by many people. What Rajesh was saying, should not that be done? In fact, the EIA last storm of this EIA amendment, where more than 4 lakh opposition were received, that's not the first one. In fact, it must be the last one of the last ones of such large public outcry. But nothing has changed in that. In fact, things have changed. Things have changed for the worst continuously. So that's what, nothing, no more concrete here.
Right. Ravindra ji, you'd like to say something about the present, what's happening in Arunachal Pradesh, the EIA, and any comments on that regarding the dam project, the hydropower? Ravindra ji?
Yes. No, I have no comment to you. What Himanshu and Soumya is saying is all, we have faced it and nothing is happening. Things stand as it is. So it's a big faulty system, and let us hope for something good will happen. But now it is too faulty. Very challenging situation.
True. Anybody else would like to give quick comments? One or two quick comments?
Why government is in such haste? Why don't they address all these issues raised by us?
Himanshu?
Actually, it is not in haste. It just wants to dilute everything. For example, the project, they take time, their own time in preparing the project and then sending it and so on. But in the same time, they can do the honest effort also. It doesn't take longer time to do an honest effort. But actually, it's not haste. The kind of delays that the hydropower projects and dams, no dam is getting completed in the time period allotted, or stipulated or projected. Every project is getting delayed, and that's because they are not doing appraisal properly. So, by not doing proper appraisal, either environmental or social or geological or disaster related issues, every project gets delayed, costs increase, but that's to their convenience. There is a whole political economy around why these projects are going pushed forward. The Kane Betwa project, for example, let me tell you another example. Again, I was sitting in front of the Secretary Ministry of Water Resources in his office, and I told him that Kane Betwa project is going to destroy Bundelkhand. It's going to destroy Panna Tiger Reserve. It's going to destroy Kane River. It's not going to do what you want to do. So why is the government want to push this project? Why is your ministry pushing this project? Because his Jal Shakti ministry was pushing it. And his answer was very simple. He said, Himanshu, this is a 20,000 crore project. Question, 20,000 crore question. At that time, the cost was 20,000 crores. Today, it has gone to 46,000 crores. That is when the sanction happened. It's going to give several times more than that. And that's a lot of money. And who is checking how much of the money is getting spent on the project? So there's a whole political economy behind the large infrastructure projects like this, which is involves so much money and so much power, and then they can, the politicians can go around and say we are doing big things. Now this is unfortunate legacy of Panditji. He started this legacy of saying big dams are temples of modern India and blah blah blah. And because of that, the politicians have got into habit of saying that we are doing these big things and we will transform the whole area and we will bring so much development, so many lakhs and so many millions and blah blah blah. So this is a habit they are got into, and besides that, of course, there is the kickback economy along with that. Yeah. The only way political economy the political will can come is what happened in Lower Subansiri. It got cleared in 2005. The work started in 2006. In 2011, the people were so strongly opposed to it that they had to stop the work for 8 years. The India's highest capacity hydropower project. And not only they had to stop it, no less than our current Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, and our former Home Minister Advani had said in public meetings in Northeast India that if people of Northeast don't want big dams, we will not build big dams. Imagine. That's the kind of political will that created. But of course, that will was very weak, and now they are pushing that project they had to the project had to go through a lot of changes because of the movement. So many changes, but even now, the whole elephant corridor is getting destroyed, in the project. And WIA report says that this project should not be operating in a baseload station, but they are just operating. They are going forward with that. And WIA report says it not operate as a picking station because it just wash away the whole elephant herds. And the project is going forward the same way, except one unit will operate all the time because of the movement's conditions. But this is Subansiri is a remarkable example where what political will can achieve. Similarly, like Narmada, In Narmada Sardar Sarovar project, I mean, people may say the project is gone for built, but the point is it did achieve a lot of things which has never been achieved in any dam in India. So political will can happen, and actual implementation, some of it can happen on ground, but that requires a lot of effort.
I remember even Rajnath Singh has said in public meeting openly.
Yes, exactly. Yes, forgot to name his name.
One last question, if anybody has, or some quick comment, or we are about to conclude the meeting. Okay, Raviji, can you have the concluding remarks, please?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks Himanshu ji for a wonderful presentation. And in fact, I'm really scared about the figures you had shown regarding the projection for pumped storage projects. From 18.8 gigawatt that they had said in 2023, it's now more than 160 gigawatt. So
100 is for PSP. 161 is for total storage. Out of
okay. 100 for PSP. Okay. So again, 5 times increase.
Yes.
So there is actually practically no justification for that.
Yeah.
And these people with all these dilution in environmental norms, and also yesterday I read that the Central Electricity Authority has issued guidelines for PSP that actually ask for dilution of a lot of environmental laws. How can CEA ask for dilution of environmental norms?
Yeah.
Those things are happening. So we have a lot in our hand if we have to at least conserve our river systems in its present condition. Forget about improving it. So I wouldn't go into details of your presentation. As I said, that has been discussed in detail. So I thank all for this session. I thank Himanshu for this insightful presentation, and I thank all those who have raised questions, Dhananjay ji, Rajesh, Santosh, and Saumyada, everybody. And also I take this opportunity to thank our team, Santosh ji, Bhumi, Saumyada, Meera couldn't join today. And I thank all who have joined also. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. The meeting is closed.
Thank you.